So then, the British Touring Car Championship returned from its summer break at Thruxton. I was so thankful that I actually went across to watch it in person. I ended up down at the final chicane for a lot of the day, and I spent the first couple of races wandering around the track as well. So I'll give some thoughts on that, attending as a fan as well. But the weekend overall, well done to Josh Cook, I have to say. You know, it's one of his better tracks, and he nailed the qualifying race, nailed race 1, and made the most of when he had the more advantageous boost conditions. This is a track that he's historically done really well at, so I think it's also a home track for him. But it was good to see the Speedworks Corolla picking up a win as well. When you look at the variety of people who end up winning races or even on the podiums, whilst when you get to race 3, you end up with the normal kind of Virtue and Napa, Hyundai and Ford, and heck, even Ricky Collard gets 4th place, so it's a top 4. Hey, it's even the top 5 with the returning Senna Proctor. We had some variety early on. I mean, in the qualifying race, you end up seeing behind 3 of the Napa cars, you have the 2 Mercedes, and then Robo gets onto the podium in race 1. It's just off the podium in race 2, and yeah, James Dorlan, who was the pole sitter for race 3, ends up coming back with 6th place. I think he ended up picking up the Jack Sears and the Independents because they gave out those trophies afterwards. I went back to have a look at the podium ceremony afterwards because it would take a while to get out the track, and I knew it would because I've done Thruxton a couple of times before. But yeah, overall, great action. Thruxton does that. It is more of a slipstream fest than some parts of Donington and Silverstone even. It's the fastest track, they say, on the calendar. It's supposedly the fastest track in the UK. And that makes sense given, you know, you've only got 2 real braking zones. But, of course, I'm going to be, you know, waxing lyrical about my home track. It's my home track. Well, not literally my home track, but as non-ovals go, it is. Because have a home track that's literally an oval. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy the racing, and it was great to have the minis do the supporting package as well. I really hope, I never caught the name, unfortunately, the person who was injured in the minis crash, but I hope for a speedy recovery for them. I haven't seen any further updates since Sunday. But yeah, let's quickly talk Ricky Collard, because this is supposedly his last meeting. That is a shame. And it's a thing to do with the BTCC and the budget, and this is the thing that is an issue with racing, is the amount of money. Money going into it has to go up every year, because the money coming out of it has to go up every year, because the money that's in circulation has to go up every year, otherwise things look like they're making a loss. It's just the way the world is. Ideally, we'll find a way to reduce the costs, because, yeah, that is what's needed, but this is the unfortunate reality of the world in which we live. Everything needs to grow by what, like 2% every year, otherwise there's going to be an issue. I've seen some figures being banded around for how much it costs for a BTCC program, which, if they are relatively accurate, sound like comparable to a GT program, for instance, or a TCR program. So you can understand why people would jump around in the different series. But it's a shame. You need to reduce costs, you need to reduce running costs. Hopefully, some things will do that. I mean, I got to see that new PM Junior machine. That looks really cool. I liked the 306 one that was the Toka Juniors that were being suggested, a year, 2 years ago? It's a shame that never materialised, but at the same time, this could be promising. They look like Ginettas, and I loved when the Ginettas were supporting the BTCC. It's a shame they don't anymore. They're on the BRSCC circuit instead. Either way, Ash Sutton clear in the championship now. 284 to Ingram's 225. Dan Cam's on 208 and Josh Cook on 154. It is a shame for Ricky Collard. He's 5th in the standings. It looks like it's the end of the road for this season. And then Rainford's leading out of the independents on the overall. And then in the independents outright is actually Mikey Doble that leads from Darryl de Leon, 216 to 193, with Rainford in the third on 187. For the manufacturers and constructors, it's Ford on 483, to Hyundai on 344, 297 for Mercedes, 267 for Toyota. Don't. In the team standings, Naps on 430, 282 for Virtue, 251 for WSR, 214 for PMR. MB is on 198, Cataclean Plato on 187, Restart on 170, 138 for Speedworks, and then the Steel Seal PMR car is on 82. That might pop up, now that we're going to have a Nick Halstead returning in Knock Hill. Then for the independent teams, it is the LKQ PMR with 250, WSR on 236, then it's MB on 231, Restart on 227, and then the Steel Seal PMR on 174. Again, it would be interesting to see what happened if the two PMR outfits were combined into one in the standings. I'm going to wrap up quickly by talking about the fan experience. Look, BTCC is always fun to watch, and the supporting series that we have at Thruxton are always entertaining to watch as well. And I've been to several different venues. I went to the media day at Brands earlier this year for the BTCC. That was a new experience because every other BTCC experience I've had is at Thruxton. But in addition to that, I have seen GT World Challenge Europe at Brands Hatch. I've also been to see, say, the Silverstone Classic. I know I was working it, but I was at the British Grand Prix back in 2021. And I've been to, say, different, Formula Renault festivals over the years. Whilst I absolutely enjoyed myself, there are elements of the fan experience that can always be improved. Some bits are just random limitations, like parking. I can't believe that I saw 3 people have what Gensies like myself would affectionately describe as a crash out, trying to get out of the car park, especially because I waited about an hour after race 3 ended to leave, and then I had 3 people almost drive into each other right behind me, and they were all swerving around and beeping their horns and disrespecting the people who were employed by the circuit to make sure that crowd control was somewhat reasonable. And then there was this BMW, I think it was an 850 or something like that, and then behind me was a Honda Estate, a Volvo, and an Alpha, I think it was an Alpha Junior. They were all trying to go into a space that only one of them was meant to be in, and they were all blaring their horns, and I had to just book it because otherwise I thought I would be in a crash. That is not a fault of the circuit, that's not a fault of the staff who tried their best. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to get run over. And if they'd tried to intervene, they probably would have done. So I do feel for the circuit staff. I feel for everybody who does the thankless tasks of working a race weekend. It's not just, our Orange Army, our Orange Heroes, the Marshals. It is everybody who goes into working on those kinds of race weekends. There's also a thing, and it's something that's different from the last time I went to the BTCC in 2019, because when you get to the first complex on the circuit, where you've got the banking, that's always had people perching up in deck chairs with tents and everything like that. What was really cute was if you went a little bit further along, I saw a family having a gazebo popped up, and they were doing a fry-up during the Porsche Cup, the Carrera Cup Race 1. But down at the final corner, where it's relatively flat, you couldn't see anywhere near as much as you used to be able to because people were getting there early and pitching up. And what I mean was the run to the final corner, the spot where you usually see the contact, which is in the braking zone around the turn-in point, somebody had put up a 4-man tent. And I couldn't understand that for the life of me. It's one thing when you've got the sort of arena area, when you've got the hills, because then you're not obscuring someone else's view. But at that point, it was quite frankly a bit odd. I get you want to avoid the sun. I got some awful sunburn, though I got some sunburn in 2019 during that race 3 when there was a flash thunderstorm. That was wild. I get wanting to just make sure that you're safe and that you're having the best possible day. But I have a feeling that there's a difference between, you know, taking fold-out chairs and popping up there and going to a flat piece of where the spectators are at and pitching up at a tent, obscuring everyone else's view. I went there with a camera. I want to take lots of nice, fancy photos of my camera. I'm not annoyed that people were obscuring my view with that particularly, because I think this is more of a universal fan experience thing. For me, with my camera, I stood at the back. I stood at the back of where everybody else was pitching up for the final complex, because I was like, one, it looks cool to see spectators watching on when you take photos, but two, I don't want people to go, oh, I really want to see this, but there's somebody up at the front dancing around with a camera around thinking that they're like the main character. I don't know, it's just a little rant that I wanted to put in there, because it's something that I noticed. I mean, the other thing that I noticed was more of those bars that play music in the kind of party zone bit. I always thought it was a little bit unrealistic when the F1 game had those kind of arena sections, because I didn't witness that when I went to the British Grand Prix. But it turns out it is realistic. Who knew? Well, anybody who's been to a racetrack in the past few years. But overall, good experience. Overall, I would recommend going to BTCC race. I always have, and I always will. And I think I'll just leave it there for now. Alright, folks? Thank you so much for watching and joining. Thank you for continued support, and until next time, it's bye-bye for now.